when we get through this phase of life, it'll be easier to go on a date.
Yeah.
When our kids are out of the are out of when our babies are out of diapers, when we are making so much this amount of money, when we have less schedules, oh, come summertime, maybe we'll date more. If you don't do it now, you're never going to do it, but because if you don't plan for it and you always think, oh, it'll be easier when, you won't ever do it.
Welcome to Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage. I'm Dr. Greg Smalley.
And I'm Erin Smalley. I'm really looking forward to sharing this episode with our listeners because we're going to talk about date night ideas, as well as we're going to talk to two very funny people.
I know we're going to have a ton of fun together. But now, did you know that according to the National Marriage Project, only 48% of married couples in the U.S. report going on regular date nights?
Wow.
So only 48%. That means that more than half of married couples, that's like, I'm not a math genius, but I think that's about 52% of the couples then aren't going on dates.
Right. Yes. Couples who have regular date nights at least once or twice a month, and, so we're not saying 4 times a month, once a week, they report having greater marital happiness, more stability, and they actually have greater sexual satisfaction. So those are some key things that we can gain as a result of going on regular date nights just once or twice a month. So if you've never been on a date night, the show is for you. And if you have, we've got some great new ideas coming your way. So keep listening. We're also going to explore something called the Vow Vault.
It's going to be fun.
That'll be a fun one. Then we're going to answer a listener question about what to do, what to say, how to encourage a spouse who is chronically unemployed at no fault of their own.
Yeah, but let's first talk about date nights. So even last night, so we've both been busy. There's been a lot going on. You're towards the end of your doctoral program, and so our evenings are often you doing homework, I'm in the middle of writing a book. So it's all that. So what struck me is maybe 2 days ago, I said to you, hey, how about tomorrow night? Why don't we just sit out by our fire pit and let's just talk? And I honestly, Erin, totally forgot that I said that to you.
Oh, I planned my whole day around it.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's what was so funny is that in the evening, I was getting ready to like, hey, let's lay in bed, watch a movie or watch a documentary, whatever. And you're like, well, aren't we going to go out and sit by the fire? Like I could just instantly see the disappointment on your face. And I realized, oh man, I totally forgot that I had made that commitment, or at least had offered that as a fun idea. It just reminded me how important date nights are, even when we stay home, even when we just sit out by the fire pit, and we got to do that. And two of our kids joined us.
Yes, so it ended up not being a real date night because we had 2 kids and a dog, and we couldn't get the fireplace to start. So
all that is very true, but we ended up having good conversation.
We shifted. We went upstairs.
Yeah.
And sat by that fire pit instead.
Yeah.
And our kids joined us, and we had good conversation with them.
So it's just date nights are so important. Now all I'm saying is last night was just a great reminder for me that it's easy to forget to make the effort to make sure that we're actually having some date nights versus getting in the rut of, let's watch a movie now that we're done writing or done with our homework. And that's why I love our guests. They're so passionate about couples continuing to date. So Jay and Laura Laffoon, these are good friends of ours. They've been married for 40 years and they're well-known speakers in the marriage arena. They host the Healthy Marriage, Healthy Church trainings, and they're self-proclaimed marriage edutainers, which I like. I've never heard that. I'm going to start using that. I want to be an edutainer as well. And they're so dedicated to helping couples stay connected. So we started the conversation with Jay and Laura by asking, how has their expectations of dating changed for them over the past 40 years of marriage?
I think we get surprised more often at how much fun a date is. We think it's just going to be a normal, boring date, and then something happens and it turns into a blast. We really don't intentionally plan surprises, but they always seem to happen. And
Yeah, I was gonna say it's our expectations are simpler. It's we are empty nest. We don't have our children are grown, and so it's simpler. Just like yesterday, I had some errands I wanted to run, and Jay said, "Well, what if we went out to lunch too?" That's a date, and we're like, "Yeah, that's
Nice.
great." And
Beautiful.
it was a big date. We walked around Sam's Club,
Got all those free samples.
had all that stuff, but
Nice.
it was a romantic date too, because we split a club sandwich
Oh,
for
yeah.
lunch.
Oh,
shared.
yeah.
You crazy youngins. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Our expectations are simpler, and but at the same time it's easier to plan dates. We are in the summertime here in Michigan, and golf is a huge date. We do that a couple days a week.
Why have you guys found that dating is so important for married couples?
That's a great question, and I can answer that. We were doing a date night in Ohio, in this rural town. It was a bunch of churches came together, and we were in the high school Kappa Auto Gymnasium.
Gymatorium.
Kappa Gymatorium. Their cafeteria, their
The
auditorium.
multi-purpose room. Yes.
It's a
Exactly.
multi-purpose room.
And for some reason, there was a can light shining right down on this very old couple. I mean, they had to be octogenarians. They were very old, but they were really getting into it. And I'm telling you, they were all over each other. And I was just, drawn to that because it was genuine. It was absolutely genuine. And they came up to us afterward, and the gentleman said to me, "Jay, let people know what you did to get your spouse is what you need to do to keep your spouse."
Good.
And folks, dating was a huge part of that.
Mhm.
We wanted to go on dates. We wanted to be together. And I was kind of thinking of why is it that gets pushed aside? I think it's because we lose priorities, and in some instances we get lazy. And I'm not accusing anyone of that. I'm talking to myself. Let's just watch TV instead of going out. It's so important to your relationship.
And that is where my answer to your first question about expectations, simple. Just you can kind of go, well, it's easier. It is easier to date, but you don't want to take it for granted. You don't want to just assume, well, hey, we golfed 4 times this week, so that's a date. Yes and no, because golfing, we're competing. That's not always a good date to do.
She's competing.
Jay's just losing. Yeah.
I just losing.
As opposed to sitting across a table and having, dinner and talking and having conversation, those kinds of things. So it's a both and, but I do think dating continues to strengthen the relationship. And when you stop dating is when the apathy sets in. But yeah, so if you're not building into your relationship, it's not growing anymore, it's declining. And so you want to make sure that you continue to build into that, to build the relationship.
And when you stop dating your spouse, you're treating your spouse like a Christmas fruitcake. It just sits on the counter. Nobody touches it. Nobody even wants to come near it. And you don't want to treat your spouse that way. You want them to feel appreciated, to feel loved.
Fruitcake, that's a new one.
I know.
Yes.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Erin, you are my Christmas fruitcake that I will not neglect. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made chocolate chip muffins today, so you are my gluten-free chocolate chip muffin.
Oh,
Wow.
you had to throw that gluten-free.
Oh yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out why I'm not eating one of those. Why
I
didn't you
know. I
bring
didn't
it?
because I brought you lunch.
Well, you guys talked a little bit about this, but what are some of the biggest challenges that keep couples from dating?
Children. Especially for I it's going to be a generalization, but for women, I need to take care of my kids. He can take care of himself. My husband's perfectly capable. He's college graduate or holds a job or whatever it might be. And we spend more time focused on our kids. And the best thing for your kids to see is mom and dad dating. And so I think kids is a big one. I think busyness, what kids play into that, your jobs, your extracurricular activities, your volunteer opportunities, all of those things play into keeping you apart from I read in a book, and I can't remember where it was, but when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else.
Yeah.
And so when you say yes to your volunteer opportunities, what are you saying no to? Is it time with your husband, time with your family? You know, that. So I think schedules, kids.
Busyness. And I think when it comes to your marriage, Satan doesn't want you bad. He wants you busy, because he can really distract you when you're busy and keep
Right.
you again from focusing on, your spouse. And I think that's an obstacle. Some people would say money, but you don't have to
Yeah.
spend a lot of money to date. You
Yeah. You can go to
and,
Sam's Club and
Go
actually
for
make
that.
money.
And
that's-
get
there you
free
go.
food.
Pizza and a drink at Sam's is $1.50. That's a cheap.
That
That's a cheap
is
date.
Not that we've ever done. I'm
Yeah.
not saying we've done.
We've never
it,
done that.
But
Maybe in Michigan. I don't know if that's the Colorado price,
Yeah.
but we'll go figure that one out.
I actually have couples that I work with that will say, we don't have a budget line for date night. And I'm like, well, make one. And they actually do. And then they actually utilize it and they go out more often. But it's planning ahead, both financially and time wise. So we do a segment called Date Night Disasters. Because, of course, we never dream that our date nights aren't going to just be perfect. But have you guys ever had a date that went sideways?
Oh,
Yes.
this not only went sideways, it was upside down.
Can
It
you
was-
tell us about it?
I will. It was
So-
it was for Laura's 40th birthday. I was taking her out on her 40th birthday
it
for
was
a
a
date.
surprise.
I had a big surprise
Oh,
for her. About 20 minutes north of us is a fantastic spa. And so I booked a couples massage.
There you go.
And
Forgetting that Laura lives in a bubble, and no one comes into my bubble unless you're invited. And so I do not like to be touched. I don't like.
Pray for me.
I don't like
Yeah.
massages. I don't like.
I've
you know,
noticed when I try to
shoulder
hug
rubs.
her, she does not like
Yeah.
that.
she
So yeah.
recoils.
Now
yeah,
I'm not. That's just you, Greg.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, I'm kidding. I'm not as bad as I used to be. I have really prayed
well,
about
she
that.
grew up
'cause
in the deep south, and they were very genteel, and they did,
So Jay plans this. Now you can tell the story. That's the best.
So we get.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what you would expect out of a couples massage, but I would expect us in the same room, being able to talk, as we're getting our
Yeah.
massage.
Right.
Well, this perky little young woman comes in and says, "Laura, you're going to come with me," and she took Laura away, and I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
what about me?" And no lie, 6'3" Sven walks in and says,
bodybuilder
Yeah.
Sven.
and he was built like a rock.
Yeah.
And I've never had a massage, and I will never get one again after what Sven did
Yeah.
to me. I mean, it was painful.
That sounds
But
more
what happened
torture
was-
than.
We pull into the parking lot. So the spa is at a hotel, and we pull into this parking lot, and I'm like, what are we going to spend the night here? I mean, what are we doing? Going to the indoor pool? I mean, I can't figure out what we're doing here. He's like, no, we're going to go to the spa. I'm like, oh, well, that'll be fun. He goes, yeah, we're going to have a couples massage. And I literally looked at him and said, do you not remember who you're married to? I do not want a massage. You can't even touch my feet. Why do you think I'm going to let some stranger give me a massage? He's like, no, it's a couples massage. It'll be great. And then when the woman came in and took me, I kind of looked over my shoulder and gave him I'm going to kill you look. But then when it was over, oh my word, it was the best thing ever. I was like, I'll do this forever. I love massages.
Apparently, Jay
He
felt
came-
differently.
Yeah. Jay was broken after that.
Came out was like, I'm never doing that again. I'm like, well, that's your payment for spending.
Yeah, right. That came full circle to
Yeah,
Jay deserved
that
that
was
one.
sideways. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one went
Yeah.
sideways. Well, you just got to look at those kind of things, and you got to laugh. At
Yeah.
the time, it was not fun. At the time, she was very, very angry on her birthday. I'm a ding dong. What am I doing? And but now we can look back and we can laugh about it.
It's a good story.
Yeah.
I do love it.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I mean, even when we're trying to do everything just perfectly, there's bound to be something that goes disastrous and all that. But what do you notice though about couples that maybe they're doing that ultimately is not going to make that date go well? Like, is it that they're staring at the screens, or they're doing the
Yeah,
same old
staring
same
at
old?
their
there.
phones.
Yeah, it's we've got a friend, his name's Joey. He works with families and their cell phone use, and he makes a great point. He said, when you've got this in your hand, 4 billion people can get in touch with you. But when you put it down and you're looking face to face at your wife or at your children, they know they're the only person in the world that matters right now.
That's
Mm.
good.
You know, when you put that phone away, you put that screen away, and we've just gotten to the point where it's almost like a security blanket for
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
And
True.
It's like I
it-
can't live without my phone. I think the
Yeah.
other thing that couples are doing is, and it would be easy to just say not dating, but thinking that, when we get through this phase of life, it'll be easier to go on a date.
Yeah.
When our kids are when our babies are out of diapers, when we are making so much this amount of money, when we have less schedules, oh, come summertime, maybe we'll date more. If you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. And like you said earlier, Erin, having couples make a budget for it. You've got it in your budget, putting it on a calendar,
Yeah.
sitting down once a week and saying, hey, this is when we're going to go on a date, or once a month this month. But because if you don't plan for it and you always think, oh, it'll be easier when, you won't ever do it.
And one of the real keys we give couples that are budget conscious, that maybe don't have the kind of money to go for a babysitter, is to find a couple in your church or in your neighborhood and swap weekends. This weekend, your kids are going to spend Friday night at our house,
Mhm.
and we'll drop
Yeah.
them at home at noon on Saturday. And next weekend, our kids are going to stay at your house, pick them up Friday night, and we'll drop them back at. And it costs you nothing
Right.
because
Right.
your kids are going to entertain each other. And I shared this at a workshop, and this guy came up to me afterward and just goes, "You just described Uncle Al and Aunt Janine." Like, what do you mean? Well, they're not related, but we called them Uncle Al and Aunt Janine because once a month we went to their house and spent the night, and they became like our aunt and our uncle. And that's what his
good.
parents had done, was they arranged that.
I love that. I
It's a
love
great
that.
way to do that.
So you guys are intentional about trying new things. We heard a story about you guys trying electric bikes. I want to hear this, but why is it important that couples try new things like that?
It's so the backstory of the e-bike. We were actually over on the lake shore here in Michigan, over in Grand Haven, which is beautiful, but
But
very hilly. And so we had some friends that were with us, and they were like, "Hey, let's go rent e-bikes, and it'll be easier to do the hills." Well, the backstory there is probably 20 years ago, maybe 25, maybe 30. Laura, we had one of our, at that time we were in youth ministry, and we had one of our youth group kids come to our house because he had just purchased a new
moped.
And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, I want to try that moped. Well, I got brakes mixed up with accelerate
Yeah.
because it was all in the hand.
That's not good.
And I literally drove it up a telephone pole. I'm
Oh,
lucky
no.
to be alive. And so
And
the word
$400 later, Jay paid for the repairs.
Oh.
the word electric bike struck fear into me, but I was like, well, I ride a bike. It can't, how much, more difficult could it be? So we went and we rented the bikes, and it was a blast.
It was a
because
blast.
you could do so much more
Uh-huh.
than you do on a bicycle. If you came to a hill, you just quit pedaling and turn it into gear. And so it was fun. But if I had never stepped out of that, past trauma, I didn't get injured. Actually, nothing. I can't believe nothing happened to me. But if I hadn't said, you know what, okay, I can do this. And I was very clear with the man, you need to tell me exactly what do I do to make this go, and what do I do to make it
So
stop?
there may be some fear. But Greg, I don't know Erin's middle name, but Laura's middle name is I Want. Laura I Want Laffoon. And ever since that, she's been hounding me for an electric bike,
I
but
do.
that is not in the budget. But bottom line is, when you try these new things, you're making memories.
Mhm.
Mm.
And that's one of the best things you can do as a couple, is to make a memory. Now, one of the things we keep telling ourselves we want to do, because we've got one close here, is to go axe throwing. And we've heard that's a lot of fun. I just got to make sure Laura's in the right
I was
mood.
gonna say, yeah. This I can't imagine how that might be
Yeah, how
disastrous.
will that play out?
We'll let you know when we go.
Yeah, we'll save the results for next time we have you
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And I love the electric bike example, that adventure. We actually went downtown Colorado Springs. We they have the electric bikes kind of around. We grabbed a couple. We started going, and it was all fun, exactly how you were saying. It was fun. You could go up and down the hills, all that, until my stupid electric bike ran out of juice. Because when those big, fat, heavy electrical bikes run out of juice, then you were trying to pedal something very, very difficult. And so, yeah, it was fun up until that moment. So,
Right.
so
That bike
Laura,
is
I'm
really
with
heavy.
you. Yeah, I'm with you on the electrical bike.
We've always said we do a cruise every January, celebrate your marriage at sea. And when we first started, Jay said, I want to do something adventurous every time we go. You know, I want to do something that we have to step out of our comfort zone and do it. And so we've done a lot of different climbed falls and then done
Parasailing.
the parasailing.
Oh,
The
fun.
only thing I refused to do because I went up and tried it was like a ropes course that goes out over the ocean. I was like, yeah, no.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
I'll try someday, but
Yeah.
no, not right now.
Well, what difference does that make? I like how you frame that there's something about getting out of your comfort zone that's important for a couple. What does that do to a couple when they kind of do some adventures outside of their comfort zone?
I think you discover some fun things about your spouse, some things you maybe never knew, and it allows you to see your spouse in a whole different light.
Right. I think an adventure for us on a regular basis is putting things together.
Yes.
Like if you buy
Anything
something
from
that has
IKEA.
to be put
Yeah,
together,
right.
that's another adventure for us. And we get what did we just we put together a prep station for our grilling area outside, and it said right on the box this should take you 50 minutes, 50 minutes.
We usually
And-
times that times 3.
Yeah.
Well, this will
Right.
take us. It'll take us 3 hours, and we did it in an hour and 10 minutes, and we were very proud of ourselves. So
see?
I think that's part of what when you do something that's adventurous and out of your comfort zone, you kind of look at each other and go,
Good
"Good
job.
job," you know. And
we did it.
You know, some affirmation. It kind of makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And, you know, those endorphins. You
Build
know,
some
course
grit.
through your body or whatever.
Yeah. Tell us about the driveway date. What is that?
Oh, it's one of my, so it's actually a date. So when we wrote our book, The Ultimate Date Night, we asked a bunch of our friends, people who come to our date nights, we kind of sent out a survey and said, tell us your favorite date, you know, and it can cost money, it can be low cost, it can be whatever. And this one actually came from a friend of a young couple who have 5 kids. They at that time they were all under the age of I think 12 or 13.
Wow.
And you know, she said, you know, we don't get to go out for a lot of dates. We don't, first of all, we don't want to spend the money. We have 5 kids. Who wants to come and babysit 5 kids? You know, she gave all the reasons. And she said, but what we've discovered is a really low cost, very good date. And that is they take his truck and they pull it out into the middle of their driveway. This is mostly in the fall and summer and fall in Michigan. And they put camp chairs in the back. The kids are in bed. They put the kids to bed. They pull the truck out in the middle of the driveway. They put camp chairs in the back of it. They get the beverage of their choice. They turn on their music and they sit and have conversation.
Wow.
And they just talk. And I was like, that seems so fun. Now we don't have a truck, but we do have a patio. And so we do that very frequently as we just go outside, especially when the weather is so nice. We go out, you know, and just sit on our patio furniture, and we have a pond in our backyard that has a little fountain in it that we just kind of look and watch the bunnies and the deer. And we do kind of a roar. So it was really like, oh my goodness, I'd never thought of that. You know, that was just a fun date.
Simple and
Submitted
free.
for the book.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
And not really requiring a lot of thought, you know. Hey,
Yeah.
let's just go sit in the truck.
Yeah. Take some chairs and have a good conversation.
Yeah.
Well, what about for those couples? Because I've heard this, you know, we'll go out, maybe we're at a restaurant, you know, we're sitting across from each other, finally away from the kids, from the rest of the craziness of life, and we have nothing to say. What about for that couple who just feels stuck? Like, man, when we're alone, we're so used to maybe talking through budgets and tasks and all those things. How do you encourage them to go a little bit deeper in their conversation?
Well, one of the things that we try and encourage couples to do so that doesn't happen
Yeah.
is to set aside 15 minutes every day of uninterrupted conversation. And
Okay.
all that means is, you know, maybe before you go to work every day, or maybe at the end of every day when the kids are in bed, or put the kids in front of a TV. It's not going to hurt them for 15 minutes. You know, whatever it might be, and just sit face to face and just talk about your day. You know, how was your day? What'd you do? You know, that kind of for lack of a better word, that trivial conversation. Because the more you get used to having that trivial conversation, then when you go out and you're sitting with each other for an hour and a half or 2 hours, you've built that habit of really looking at each other eyeball to eyeball and having conversation.
I'm a dreamer. I love
Hmm.
to, imagine what the future is going to be. And so I would encourage couples to talk about the next anniversary or the next milestone anniversary. Honey, if we could do what would be great for you if we could, on our 10th, 15th, 25th, whatever the next big milestone is, what would that look like for you? And just ask an open-ended question. And guys, if you can learn to ask open-ended questions, your wife will fill in the blank. I mean, they're hardwired to do that, but they've got to be prompted sometimes. So dream a little bit. Talk about, boy, wouldn't it be great to go here or do this? Or Laura always wanted to go to New York City. So for our 10th anniversary, we took a long weekend in New York City, and
Wow.
we did it on a shoestring, but it was fun.
And you can also, sometimes people when they're at that point, they feel like they have to have some serious conversation. We're on a date, we should probably have some serious conversation. What we do frequently, and we don't necessarily do this, say, hey, let's do it on purpose, but we frequently look around the restaurant and imagine what the other people are.
Oh yeah, what they're talking about.
I wonder if he's like a farmer, and if she's like, I wonder, or look at that guy. And I mean, it seems kind of silly, but it gets you
Yeah.
comfortable, gets you relaxed, might even get you laughing.
One word of advice when you're in a restaurant and you're looking at people and asking, don't point out the pretty lady. Okay,
That's
don't say, "Ooh, I wonder what
good
she does for a
advice.
living." That will be
She's
the
pretty.
kiss of death right there.
Yeah.
that's good advice. Thank you.
What I hear all the time, like, we just don't have romance. So what do you say to that couple? How do you infuse your date nights with romance? How do you bring it alive?
We'll tell you when we figure it out. Again, and I don't want to sound unromantic, but you have to intentionally plan romantic things. If your wife likes flowers, then, and you're going out on a date Friday, then Tuesday bring her flowers. Bring her flowers. Don't bring her flowers on Friday afternoon. Bring them Tuesday so that she sees those every day and thinks about how thoughtful you were. If she likes chocolate, get her a box of chocolates on Tuesday. Do things intentionally. And guys, this takes some thought, okay? It takes a little work. But I think romance, it has to be initiated. You can't sprinkle monkey dust and say, "Oh, it's going to happen." No, we have to. We fell in love, and obviously there's the whole endorphins and dopamine and all the stuff that our body does when we fall in love. But you have to intentionally act on that to keep it going.
And so I don't want to say that romance is overrated. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is we put a huge expectation on the word romance. We love Dr. Gary Chapman, and those 5 love languages. When you speak your spouse's love language, that's romantic.
Yeah.
And I thought about that when Jay said flowers, because one of mine is gifts, and so whenever he
It's definitely
brings
not
me
touch.
something home, yeah.
No, that's my love
Oh,
language.
gotcha.
And his love language is words of affirmation, and my gift is sarcasm. So, it's really.
Right.
You align
win-win.
perfectly. Yeah.
But when you speak your spouse's love language, whatever that might be, that creates that feeling inside of them that they want to be close to you, and that's romance. And so I think so often our culture defines romance by what they see on TV. It has to be flowers and jewelry and butterflies and rainbows and balloons and all that stuff. That's not what it is. It's being authentic with each other and loving each other in a way that speaks romance and love to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that when you take the time to speak your spouse's love language, it draws you closer as a couple, on every level. And we had a story in our marriage where I played a lot of basketball growing up, and I know I'm short and I'm heavy, but I love basketball. And there was a group of guys that would play every once in a while at lunchtime here in town. And I was speaking on the road one weekend, and and I was gone the whole weekend speaking to the youth. And Laura came down to lunch on Monday where I was playing basketball and said, do you want to go get lunch? And I'm like, no, honey, we just won. We've still got the court. I can't go now. And I, being the ding dong that I am, then I saw the look on her face, and thankfully it hit me. She wasn't asking me to go get lunch. She was asking me if I loved her. And so I told the guys I had to go, and threw on my sweatpants, and we went out for lunch. But you gotta, again, think about those things, and you gotta be intentional.
And you didn't get drafted that year because of it. So.
But Laura,
It was
But
the
Laura-
opportunity cost.
Laura drafted him.
That's true. Ooh,
Yeah.
Yes. There
See?
you go. Ooh, that's
Yes,
good.
Yes,
she
she
chose him.
that's very good.
First round.
Yeah, how about that?
Well, we have loved the time that we have been with you guys, and to truly see that your love for each other is so genuine, and we know that dates and just having that connection, whether that's at Sam's Club or parasailing or on the cruise. We want to go on the cruise with you, by the way. We're just going to drop that hint right now.
Because Greg wants to parasail
Exactly, with
alone.
Jay. No, with Jay.
That's
Yeah, we'll do it after we ride our electric bikes. that
That's
don't
right.
work. But we so appreciate you
We
guys
do.
in the message, the simple, practical ways that we can keep dating each other. So thanks, you guys, for being with us today.
Well, thank you for
Thanks for
having us.
having
It's
us.
always a pleasure to be with you guys. And again, we love what you do, and what you do for marriages all across the world. So keep it up, and we're happy to do anything we can for you guys.
When it's
Absolutely.
mutual.
They are always so much fun. It just reminds me of when we're actually with them, just how much laughing we do. I so enjoy them as a couple.
Yes, me too. They're just genuine and authentic, and they bring great information to
Yeah.
the table.
Yeah, we started talking a little bit about, over time, it's easy to get in kind of a conversation rut. I remember one time it was like I read a joke or something that kind of went, so this may not even be funny, but I remember it this way, to where this couple, they're kind of pulling into their house, and they notice their neighbors are out on the porch, have iced teas in their hand. They're just talking, animated, everything. And so the wife, spots this, and she kind of says to the husband, why don't we ever do this? And so he's like, we could totally do this. So they go in, they get some iced teas, they sit out on their porch, and they're just staring at each other. And he's like, please call them, find out what they're talking about. And it's true that it's so easy. You're not even laughing. That's
Well,
not even a.
I was
not
waiting for
even
the
a-
punchline, what they were talking about, what they were going to tell them when they
know,
called.
I got nothing. But
What do you think they were talking about?
they were probably talking about their neighbors and how they never seem to connect, and they don't have anything to talk
How
about.
they watch their neighbors to sit out on the porch like they do.
But have you ever noticed that at times when we're out, like to a restaurant or something, that I'll just notice a couple, at a different table, and maybe they're on their cell phones, but it just seems like they're not at all talking. And that freaks
Right.
me out. Like there's something about the notion of, man, are we going to get to a place to where we just sit and stare at each other with nothing to say?
Well, the good news is I will never get
that's-
to that place.
that is
You
fair.
might. I don't think I ever will. There's always something to talk about.
But I do notice, though, when we're super busy, maybe haven't been together, and now we're finally like in the car, maybe driving to whatever, go get some dinner or something, that there, for me, there is almost like a little warm up that has to take place. Like I just feel either out of sync, or what should we talk about? Like it bugs me. I'm like, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with me? Why I should be able to have something come to mind. And so I know I'm not alone there. I know that couples can feel like they're in that conversation rut. You work with couples.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
What do you think creates that?
Well, typically something is going on underneath the waterline, that either they've trained the relationship that it's not safe to go to deeper level places.
Yeah, that's fair.
That if we talk about, feelings, or maybe even something that we're upset about, it's not going to go well. So why even revisit it? Why talk about it at all? And so we'll just sweep it under the rug and leave it there. And it builds up.
Yeah.
And then eventually the relationship says, well, we can't talk about those things. So really it's not super safe to talk at all.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for me, kind of that transactional communication that we all have to do. We've got to talk about the budget and the bills and who's going to the store, who's running the kids here, who's picking up whatever. Just all that kind of transactional, administrative sort of communication that we need to have. I think for me, that can often really make it difficult because I get into that habit. Like, okay, fine, if we're alone and we actually face to face, we got to figure out what we're doing tomorrow. And there's a lot going on and let's talk it through. And then we don't protect kind of what I would call more the sacred moments, the sacred connection moments, those moments that have high connection potential. And then we get into talking about just, kids and just the transactional stuff.
Yeah.
So I know that I fall victim to that a lot.
Or maybe even sometimes, and I feel this at times, that our conversation becomes very routine and predictable.
Yeah.
What was the high of your day? What was the low of your day? And I'm like,
that's my favorite.
We got to do
What
something
do you mean
new. We got to
predictable and
spice it
routine?
up. And because it becomes routine and then it's not exciting.
I'm so offended right now, by the way. No, but that's funny you say that because I am way more routine driven than you are.
Yes.
That I love the comfort of that question. And it never gets old because it's a new day. It's a different, what was your high of your day, low of your day?
Yeah.
And we do that a lot.
You are very routine.
And there's something, though, comforting about that.
And my personality, I like adventure, spontaneity.
Okay. Well, okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes.
So I do like the routine of the high and low, but I can hear what you're saying, that sometimes it feels like for you that it feels like a little bit of a rut, kind of like we're talking about. So what would that look like to add some adventure to our conversation?
Are you talking about the questions themselves or how we're doing the high and the low?
Yes.
Okay, that
it can
helps.
be whatever.
That's so clarifying.
It can be whatever you want it to be.
I would even say just going for, because it's so beautiful out right now, and I've been really trying to get out to walk at least once a day. So if we went and walked and talked about the high of our day, the low of our day, that would be
just
helpful.
Doing something different.
Yes. Or even sitting, like we were talking about earlier, sitting outside.
Would there be a different question that you would like me
I
to ask you?
liked the what made you mad today? What made you sad today? What made you glad today? I liked that one. Yeah.
That's good. You're
Yeah.
funny that way, and I love that about you, that you need that different kind of that new
Yes,
adventure.
I need to mix
even
it
in
up
our-
a little
Yeah,
bit.
even in our conversation.
Change up the routine.
I love it. Well, again, Jay and Laura, thank you. You've inspired us to learn something new about each other, and I'm confident that they're going to be returning soon. I'm sure there's more to talk about. Well, we'd love to know your thoughts about this episode. So make sure that you like and subscribe, and then write your comments if you're watching on YouTube, or you can always send us an email, a voicemail, if you and your spouse try any of these date night ideas.
The Laffoon's book, The Ultimate Date Night, 52 Amazing Dates for Busy Couples, is available to you for a gift of any amount. And we have the resource Greg and I wrote called Date Night Conversations for Couples, and that's available as well. It'll all be available to you in the show notes, so there's no excuse for not doing date night.
Every marriage starts with a vow, but what keeps it all going? Maybe you use traditional vows or you made up your own. Maybe you've been married 3 years or 30 years. This is an exercise to talk about the vows you made and to explore kind of how they've held up over time.
So we're calling this segment the Vow Vault because there are the vows you said on your wedding day,
Right.
but there's also the unwritten vows that you now understand now that you've been married for a bit. And here's the fun part, the vow renewals, where you can update or refresh your vows.
Yeah, so we challenge you and your spouse you may do this on a date night. So we challenge you to talk about how those wedding day vows have been kept. Reflect on specific moments, the good, the bad, or the hilarious times that you've shared together.
So talk about the vows that have been harder to keep than you thought maybe they'd be, or the vows that have caused individual growth for you. Then talk about the unwritten vows between the two of you. Things like, I vow to hold space for the person you're growing into. This shows emotional intimacy and promises to protect your spouse's goals. Or I vow not to weaponize your vulnerabilities, to be a safe place, because knowing each other's weak spots is a privilege, not a tool for winning an argument.
Yeah, I love this idea. So as we were thinking this through beforehand, I came up with a whole bunch of ones that kind of these unwritten marriage vows. So I thought we could have some fun and kind of walk through some of these.
Okay.
So as you look at the list, what really stands out for you, Erin?
I promise to support your quirks and habits, even the ones that annoy me, because they're part of who you are. There has to be room for both of us. But
that's funny.
Your
eyes drew right to that one. That's funny.
Can I just say there are some things that I think that are quirks that we can both grow in
or grow out of.
Yes.
For example, like give me one example. You hate it when I make noises.
Yes.
I love to walk around the house. I'm in my sanctuary. I'm in my own home. No one's looking, watching, judging, or at least I didn't think there was. And I love just at times to whistle or to make weird noises. It's very cathartic, Erin, for me.
But I promise to help you become aware of those weird noises that are coming out of your mouth.
What's so funny about that is you are so quick to shut that down. The moment I start to make a weird noise or whistle or whatever.
It's so nice and quiet and it's peaceful. And then here comes Greg.
The music man walking up.
It's something like that.
Well, I promise to forgive your mistakes and for how you treat me and ask for forgiveness for mine, knowing that, I know that we're both going to fall short sometimes. And I remember Billy Graham's wife, Ruth Graham Bell. She said, a happy marriage is the union of two good forgivers. And it just made me think about how important just forgiveness is. So rather I'm being forgiven for noises or forgiving you for judging my noises. Either way, I would bring that one back into our renewal vows.
Okay, I have another one.
Oh boy.
I promise to respect your need for space, rest, or alone time and not take it personally.
Do you sometimes take that personally?
No, but sometimes I do want to do something besides sit and rest. And I want to do that together sometimes.
That's why it's so fun, those spontaneous moments that you and your friends want to get together and you're like, hey, do you mind if I go out? I'm like,
no,
not at all, really.
No,
enjoy.
Go ahead.
I promise to give you grace to see who you've been over the years versus how you're showing up in a particular moment. And I do like that idea of grace, of really noticing, okay, I've been with you now. We've been married for 33 years, so I have a good, clear sense of who you've been all that time. So I know you. And again, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it's true. Not the ugly.
What's the ugly?
Yeah. Oh boy. Let me take that back. The good in the growth areas.
Oh, gotcha.
But I love that idea of grace of just really going. No, I know who she is versus maybe how you're showing up in a particular moment.
So these are just some ideas, and we just encourage you to come up with your own, make it fun, and then share them. Maybe even on a date night. And even as you heard today, Greg and I discovered some new, fun, lighthearted, unwritten vows. Then think about your next anniversary and the possibility of renewing your vows. Include the gratitude you have for one another, how your love has grown, or how your spouse has changed you for the better. These, again, are just some ideas, so let us know how this exercise turns out for you. Just send us an email or a voicemail.
It's Q&A time, the part of the show where we get to answer your questions.
This is such an honor for us, and it's super easy for you to submit your questions. If you want to send a voicemail, just look for the black tab, either on your phone or on our show page, and fire away. Today's question comes from Allie, who writes, Dear Greg and Erin, you know that saying, beating a dead horse? For 4 to 5 years now, my husband has had real trouble finding a job. He has a doctorate and a ton of business experience, but no one is hiring him, even though he searches and applies for multiple positions every day. Apparently, he is not wowing them enough for a second or third interview. As his wife, I've given him every bit of encouragement that I know how to give, but this has been constant, and I've got nothing left to say. I don't know how to encourage him anymore. I've brought up the idea that maybe God wants him to do something else, but he's rejected that. If you were in my place, what are some things you would say to him? I've prayed that God would help him some way, somehow, but nothing has happened. To me, that's God saying no or wait. I know men get a lot of their self-esteem from their work, and I can see how this is chipping away at him. What would you do, Erin, if Greg couldn't get a job for this long?
Yeah. This is a great question.
It is a great question.
Yeah,
And
that'd
wow.
be hard.
Yeah, this is challenging. 4 to 5 years. That is a long time. And I can imagine I would feel pretty discouraged and pretty uncertain of what to do next, because it sounds like, Allie, you have done a great job of offering encouragement. And it sounds to me like you're reaching a point of like, is that even helpful?
Yeah. Because
nothing's changing. So what I would first and foremost do is figure out, what is this like for me inside?
Yeah.
You know, what's my fear in this?
Yeah.
What am I feeling in this?
Probably triggering a lot.
Yes. And I can imagine feeling pretty helpless and powerless, out of control, that this thing just doesn't seem to be changing.
Yeah.
As well as the emotional exhaustion. I can imagine that there's, hope rises, like, oh, he has a job interview and maybe even a second one, and then it falls flat. And I can imagine that it's like the rug being pulled out from underneath you, and that you're left going, I just don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
The doubt, the uncertainty, and even the spiritual connection going, Lord, where are you? Are you listening to us? Are you hearing us? And of course, we know he is, but he's not answering it in the way that you guys really have wanted.
Yeah. And I know for me, that would be an important conversation that I would love to better understand. Mm-hmm. So if this was us, if I'm having a hard time finding a job, you've been encouraging me, like you're doing everything. Mm-hmm. This, of course, I know at some deep level, this would hit me like I'd feel like I'm failing, that I'm not being a good provider. I mean, it would mess with me. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I know that you would notice that like Allie is, and you'd be doing all this encouragement. But I know for me, what would help would be to give me an opportunity to really understand what this has been like for you. And so that's why I like what you're saying, Erin, is for her to first go, what are some of the different, deeper emotions that are being triggered for me? Because I would love to know that. I would love to know, Erin, what has this been like for you? It'd give me an opportunity to kind of feel like, man, I can accomplish something by leaning in and being compassionate, hearing you, not getting defensive, and just saying, I know this has been rough for you. So there's dynamically, there's just something about, I don't know if the right feeling is I feel useless, but that might be a part of how Satan might be attacking my brain, is that you're good for nothing, you're useless, you're not doing anything. So there'd be a way in which having an opportunity to really lean in with you would actually be really, really helpful.
And I would even say it's okay to say that.
Right.
Like, hey, this is really hard. I know it's hard on me, so I'm certain it's hard on you.
Yeah.
And I wish I could fix it, but I can't. But I want you to know that I'm here with you. And we're going to keep walking this road because we're in this together. And, also inviting in that honest conversation. Like, what is this like for you? And allowing him to be able to share whatever it is that is weighing on him. Maybe he's fearful. Is this going to impact us financially? Are we going to lose our home? Is this impacting how you view me? I mean, there's so many things that could be stirred up in this.
Yeah.
But as a spouse, being able to go, okay, I'm just letting him talk. And my job is just to listen and to care, not to fix, defend, explain, all of that.
And that's huge, because just hearing this, Allie, not that you're saying that you feel responsible, but I imagine there's moments to where you feel that, like, I got to say the right thing. I've got to encourage him in the right way. I've got to help him in whatever way.
Yeah.
And so just reminding yourself that my job isn't to be responsible for how he's feeling or for
Right.
solving the job. I mean, none of that. And again, I know you know this, but it's just a great reminder just to kind of reset from time to time and say, you know what, my opportunity here is just to be his companion.
Right.
And that I don't have to figure this out. But Erin, I would say though, at some point, if this was me, that I hear that she's been encouraging him to, you know, maybe looking for something else. I think it'd be responsible as a couple for you to be able to say, you know what, Greg, you know, again, I want to be supportive, and, you know, I want you to, you know, love what you're doing, find that right job that you're holding out for, but this is really no longer a win for me. Because I imagine that is impacting them financially. It's a healthy thing as a couple to say this is a loss for me.
And maybe setting a timeline like, hey, let's wait for another 6 months. And then beyond that, we're going to have to do
Let's
something.
pivot. Yeah.
Yes. How do we pivot? I would even encourage him to talk to someone maybe who's been through that, but also maybe even a coach of some sort who can guide him
That's great.
into exploring, like, what are your gifts and talents?
Yeah.
And is this even a good fit? Or interviewing skills, or looking at his resume. Is his resume up to date with the latest, greatest thing? You know, just talking to someone
Right.
that could help with that stuff.
Yeah, because she even said kind of maybe he doesn't wow.
Yeah.
You know,
How do
during
you
that
wow in
second
an
or third-
interview?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good information to
Yeah,
have.
that is. Well, Allie, we're so grateful that you took the time to open up, to be vulnerable, to
Yeah.
share what's going on inside your marriage. And again, Erin and I will be thinking about you guys, praying for you. You have to promise us that when he gets that new job, you'll let us know.
Yes.
And again, as our thank you, we'd love to send you our book, Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage. Well, thank you for joining us on this crazy little thing called marriage.
Yes, thank you for following the show and sharing it with your friends and family. We want you to have a seat at the table every week as we help equip you and your spouse to have a lifelong, satisfying marriage.
Yeah, we want to see you guys growing spiritually as individuals and as a couple.
So you can invest in other couples to help them build thriving marriages.
Well, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again next Monday about this crazy little thing called marriage.